Well, let's take a roll call and declare the meeting open. So if you guys want to start down in the selectmen's chambers there.
Okay. Michael Brown is here. Greg Smith is here.
Veronica Kell is present.
And Bill Cadigan's out in the ether. I was already down in town hall once today, so I didn't want to.
Do we not have a quorum again?
Um,
4 out of 8, I guess not.
So, Bill, if nobody else comes in, we could have Zachary present, but we won't be able to vote on anything.
well, okay. I'm not sure we're ready to vote anyway because we have conversations with Adam tomorrow and stuff like that. So,
Right. But
I think
anyway.
I think we can get by without voting. But yeah. Well, I put out the accessory apartment bylaw in the Microsoft track changes format so people can see what's happening with that.
Is that our first thing, or?
I don't know. I never follow those numbers. Let me check here.
Because I do have a couple comments on that, but we have Zachary with us, and don't we have a 4:05 appointment?
4:05, yeah. It's not quite 4:05 yet. It's 4:04.
Oh.
But that's close enough for government work, I guess. Oh, I didn't get to read the inclusionary stuff. Oh, well.
May I recommend though that we make it official that you're opening the meeting, you don't have an agenda, and if you're going on.
Oh, we do have an agenda.
I mean, excuse me, you don't have a quorum, but you're going on with the first item in the agenda. And Zachary's here to discuss that.
Well, let's go for it then.
Thank you. Sorry, Ronnie, I said it wrong. Thank you.
I think we have 5 people, don't we? Isn't that a quorum?
But
I'm just a liaison. I'm just here to answer any questions you have from the select board.
Oh, okay. So Zachary, why don't you go ahead and
You got it. First, can you folks hear me okay?
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Excellent. I don't usually do this from the road. Normally I'm in my office or in person. So I'll just briefly start by introducing myself. My name is Zachary Dumont. I am the New England account manager for General Code. I am based out of Rochester, New Hampshire, but I find myself in Mass every 3 weeks at this point because we do a lot of work in Massachusetts and across New England. But I understand that we had a couple of questions about some code revision options that I had priced out and presented to you just a couple weeks ago. The first was for a comprehensive recodification, and the second was for a standalone editorial and legal analysis. And I guess I'd ask, were there any initial questions, or would you folks just like me to run through the 2 options first? How do we want to do this?
I just wanted to make sure I understood the context of this, and maybe it'll become apparent if you run through it. But so my main question is, would you be taking a look at all of our bylaws, like zoning bylaws and or general bylaws, and sort of, doing the analysis that you describe here? Or is the focus
Correct.
on, because we've been sort of focusing on a few things that various members of this committee happen to be interested in, whether it's in outdoor lighting, noise, housing, affordable housing, a few specific things. Are you focused on the things we're looking at, or is it more general, looking at everything?
Yes and no. We are focused on the things you're focused on, but we are looking at the code in its entire context. So that's everything. Chapter 1 down to chapter 300 and everything in between. So the way this would work is the comprehensive recodification has as a part of it that editorial and legal analysis phase. The difference is, where do we follow through? So I'll start very briefly with package 2, because that's a standalone. We would provide an analysis of your current municipal code, all the chapters in between, and we give you an idea of what needs to be worked on, if there's anything that's in conflict or duplicative or not in line with state statute anymore, or maybe even just some out-of-date references. Let's say you use the term select board as one word and the term select board as 2 individual words interchangeably throughout the code. We'll point out little things like that. If you're in violation of state law, or if you have items that are outside of state law, we'd say, hey, these are some things that changed in the last 20 years since we last looked at your code. You might want to work on them. And those results would be delivered digitally. You could do whatever you wanted with them, henceforth after it's been done. With the comprehensive recodification, where it differs is, instead of just giving you the analysis, we'll do the analysis, turn the results over to you, and you'd work through that digital workbook as either as a committee or with town staff who are subject matter experts, and you'd give us those changes that you'd wanted to see implemented, whether they're just minor editorial corrections or if they're larger language changes, and we would incorporate all that into a new version of the code. That new version of the code would then go to town meeting to be readopted. And that's typically something I recommend. Once your code hits at least 15 years, do a recodification just to make sure that we've hit everything. But if you feel very confident in your bylaws right now, and it's only a couple of things that are out of place, package 2, that standalone analysis, is just a really good roadmap that you can work with. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Excellent. I like when I get, nods of approval instead of, quizzical looks like I was speaking Mandarin or something. I will tell you, so in Massachusetts, we currently support 144 communities across the state, from your smallest communities to your largest communities and everybody in between. Almost every community that we've worked with has either codified for the first time or has recodified at least once their code has hit 15 to 20 years old. In between that, we do supplementation to your code. We incorporate new items. We let you know if there's anything glaringly wrong with what you've adopted, so you can go back and fix it, or we can address it through a Scrivener's errors corrections. But in general, you've had very good code maintenance since we first published your code, I believe, in 2003. We're at the point now where the code is 20 years old. You've supplemented the code, I think, about 20, 21 times. So you're kind of right in the sweet spot where we would say 15 years at 30 supplements. The way I look at recodification is it's the best bang for your buck. You'll have our editors and our staff there to support you. We'll go through everything. It'll take us probably about 6 months. We'll deliver everything electronically to you. You can work through that entire workbook, and anything that is important, you can address. If there's anything that's not important, you can just defer to a later date. And then once we have all the key items we want incorporated, goes right back to town meeting for readoption. We'll update E-code. We can even print you some new books. And for everything that you choose to defer or not answer as a part of this process, let's say it's a 2 grand scale, but it's an issue, we'll give you a list of everything that wasn't touched. So you could go back later and say, oh, we didn't touch dog licensing, or oh, we didn't touch accessory dwelling units, or whatever it might be. So you're going to have a lot of give and play with us. So if you need more time, we'll give you more time. If you want to move a little bit quicker, we'll move as quickly as we can, but it'll be a good project regardless. And again, if you're not at the point where you can commit the staff resources to do the recodification, the standalone analysis is a great way of getting a roadmap of stuff to work on and be mindful of. The city of Pittsfield, we delivered an analysis to, I think, in January of last year, and they've been slowly working through it over the past 12 months.
So Zachary, this includes a legal analysis. Does that, do towns typically have their town council look over it after you've done either of these?
What we typically recommend is we'll do the analysis, we'll give it to the town will do code review. Then after the town has answered all the questions, that's when you kick it over to the in-house counsel and say, hey, these are the things general code found. These are the things that we want to address. In your expert legal opinion, where are we? As opposed to, making your attorney do everything, and they'll probably won't like you for that because we might find 200 some items. But definitely keep your legal counsel involved. I always recommend bring them in as soon as the town has completed its version of the review. That way your attorney already knows where your thoughts and feelings are for each matter we've addressed.
All right,
Okay.
that's pretty clear.
If the decision is made to go for the full recodification, you said approximately 6 months. Is there a possibility to look at 2 or 3 in that process? Look at 2 or 3 items that are important to us and get those to the annual town meeting this year, the April meeting coming up this year, and then keep going? Or does it all have to be completed?
I don't think that there would be enough time, and I think an editor might slap me if I promised we could do that.
No, I just was saying, like, could you pick and choose?
Yeah.
Understand.
No,
Okay.
it's what we would do is because the whole process typically takes about 18 to maybe 20 months, depending on where we land with your town meeting schedule. Let's say we started exactly on February 1st. From about February 1st, 6 months out, we'd use that entire time to do all that legal research that we'd want to do, all that editorial research we'd want to do. Then we'd turn everything over all at once. It's easier for our staff to go through the whole code as opposed to taking out individual pieces and trying to front load it so you can get a couple items addressed now. My recommendation is if you have a couple of key items that are really important to you, maybe you can come up with some warrant articles that are almost stopgap corrective measures where you could get those incorporated now, supplement them into the code, and then as we're doing our analysis, you could say, hey, we have XYZ that are very important. Please pay special attention to them. And I always say, if you have a list of problems or grievances with your existing bylaws, let us know so our staff can pay extra attention to those items.
And one further question, is the fee schedule for the bylaws compared to other fee schedules in the area?
We can. Usually, I believe the process is we'll look at it at the state level first. We'll look at how it compares to the rest of the code material. And then if you needed comparable to other communities, we could grab comparable to other communities. What we see sometimes is, the state says, oh, you are allowed to fee up to X amount, but you're only actually feeing Y amount. Did you want to raise it? Did you want to leave it? Here's what a couple of communities around you have done for their fee schedule. So we can get you some info on that. The benefit of having worked with 144 communities, we have the data somewhere.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. Anybody have any other questions?
I guess my only question is timeline. So we wouldn't be looking at this May's town meeting. We would be looking at next May's town meeting, not May 2024, but May 2025 annual town meeting.
Possibly. Right. So we average about 18 months start to finish. So possibly May next year. If you folks wanted to start like in the next week or two, we could try our darndest to get it there in time. Occasionally we say, have a special town meeting at the end of the year. If you wanted to see the full performance schedule for the recodification, let me know and I can have a proposal formalized with all of the timetables laid out. It'll probably take about a week or two to get that for you, but we can do it. Yeah, this is the hard part with our projects where we say, 18 months. We might come in right under the wire in time for your warrant articles. Other times we might miss it by, 3 weeks. It just depends on how quickly we're able to get stuff to you, how quickly you're able to get stuff back to us, and then how quickly we can get that into a final draft. Occasionally what happens is, we give you 100 days to do the work and you call us up and say, hey, we want 3 more months. There was more stuff in here than we expected.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds like a definite asset, but the timeline is well, hey, you're right.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of give and take. So it's,
Mhm.
it's
I
hard.
used to be a town councilor myself in Newmarket, New Hampshire. So I am in the same. I felt the same way you probably feel right now when you don't know exactly when a project is going to finish. You have kind of an ethereal timeline, but
Yeah.
I promise you we'll be as quick as we can.
So Zach, is the timeline the same for both packages? Is
No,
the
so
18th month is the comprehensive recodification? If,
correct.
if,
Yes,
if we go with editorial and legal analysis, what's that timeline?
about 6 months to get it done and delivered to you.
And then
So
it's
that
up to
extra
us to
time that
take it and determine
correct.
what changes we want to make forward. Okay.
Exactly. There are two ways to handle that. And I believe, yeah, we have those listed. So one
Yeah.
of the ways to do it is to kind of go piecemeal. And you say, hey, general code had 300 items for us. We're going to knock out 50 this town meeting, 60 at the special town meeting, and then the rest we'll do 2 town meetings from now. And you just, pass warrant articles at town meeting and you send us all the info and we'll supplement them in over time. Other people might take 3 to 5 years to do that, depending on how quickly you want to be. The other way of doing it is you could go through everything again at your own leisure, but just your own time without any sort of timeline around it, and then come back and say, hey, it's been 9, 10 months since you gave this to us. We answered all 300 items. We want to incorporate everything in one large update. And we could put together a separate proposal at that point to kind of do a mini code update where we'll incorporate everything and then print out any new physical books if you want them, and update the eCode 360 site. So you have flexibility by going with the standalone analysis. If you're quick, we can do one big update. If you want to take your time, we can do a couple of updates over a couple of years. Say those options really do just come down to what the town wants. Pittsfield, for example, when we first started, I think that they were much more of a gung-ho, we'll get it done, we'll get it over to you, we'll do a big update. I haven't seen anything from them over the last 12 months other than, hey, we're still working on it, and there was a lot of info. And I've had some towns up in Maine where they'll crack it out in 6 weeks, and they'll come back and say, let's go, let's do it. Must be nice to have that kind of time.
All right. Well, we have to go. We have to go to town meeting to get money for this, I believe. So we're going to be a little bit slow off the mark in that respect.
It's okay. We've been doing this 63 years. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. What you should know about funding these projects is that we do not ask for the full amount up front. We use a performance and payment schedule. Generally, that means within the first 30 days, we might ask for the first 10%. Then when we deliver the analysis, we might ask for the next 20% at that point. Then when we deliver the manuscript of the code, we'll ask for another 20% and so on and so forth. Most communities can take the total cost of the project and spread it out over 2 fiscal years, which is nice when you go to your taxpayers and say, hey, we need $7,000 this year and $7,000 next year instead of, $15,000 up front. But just know that you'll have flexibility on because we use a PNP schedule.
Okay. Yes, I'm losing my. All right. Well, thank you very much, Zachary. I appreciate your being willing to present. So,
My pleasure. If anything comes up in the next couple days or weeks, just send me some emails, and I'm always happy to answer your questions. Also, if your town clerk is going to the clerks conference in Devens this week, tell him or her to stop by because we will be there.
Okay.
Excellent. I'm gonna sign off then. Cheers.
Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
Zachary.
Thank you very much. All right.
So how does that fit in with what we're doing? We still think that we're gonna propose the specific changes we've been discussing in May?
My opinion is we go forward with the things that we've been discussing, that we can get ready for town meeting and ready for review prior to that. And then we have a warrant article to have them look at it. And I guess we would take then what they came up with either package. And then our task would be, once that was done, to, answer the questions that they're going to give us that need to be addressed. So I guess we definitely go forward with what we have for town meeting, because they won't have anything for us. We're looking a year out for something for town meeting, but that's okay. We get together what we can for town meeting. We take a break, see if town meeting approves whichever one of these we decide makes the most sense. And then next year we get reappointed, or I don't know if there's an end date to our appointment. I don't remember.
Currently, there is. I mean, we can always reappoint you, but currently it is the town meeting. So because it's a committee that's supposed to get together every 5 years. But there's certainly, we could go to the Board of Selectmen, or you can go to the Board of Selectmen and say, look, the way it's arranged now, every 5 years, it's impossible for a committee to get done what it is. You're recommending this. You can tell us rationale, bring it before, and get this on the agenda, and then you say has to be reappointed to carry through with it.
So although it's in our bylaws about the review, it's never been done. This is the first time it's been done.
I didn't know the origin of
It's
this, actually.
years
supposed to
that
be
are
every
in
5 years?
3s and 8s, I think, end in 3s and 8s.
Something,
It's
yeah.
every 5 years. So we've never done it. So I don't see where there would be any problem
Oh, no, they definitely
with
wouldn't.
doing this. And now we would know that we need to do this, going forward
And I think
on
that
a
would
regular
go
basis.
towards you, like Ronnie having that history saying, look, it's supposed to be done every 5 years, but it hasn't been done. So it's hard for somebody to come in now and do it. It really would be to our benefit, even just for the fee structure alone, to help our town to take a look at it and whatever. I think you'd have no problem selling it to the town.
So anyway.
So the fees, I'm sorry, what do you mean by the fee structure? You mean the cost of applications under the zoning bylaw and stuff?
Yeah, personally, I think if that's looked at as part of this, and let's say a dog license is $6 now, it's been $6 forever. And they say everybody else in the entire world it's $15, and we raise ours to 10, right? It kind of almost pays for itself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even the Conservation Commission fees hadn't been changed for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. And they changed it last year, and then I don't think it ever really went through. I can't remember the end of that.
I don't know, like a building fee, but I just had to get paid to help my daughter get one. I know West Boylston, what is ours for a building permit?
I don't remember.
I know.
What you're doing.
Oh, building permits vary on the complexity of the project, so.
Right.
And we have that's an online process now, so I imagine the fees are fairly stable. And we always watch our zoning board fees because
Okay.
we're trying
So
to
I
be
know
fair to
some things
people.
have
So
been paid attention to, but I know, like I said, I think things like dog licenses and marriage licenses, fish licenses, I don't think they've changed since I moved here 40 years ago.
Yeah, and it's important that they do, because the costs go up to even staff time to process those things increases. So being fair to people is not really fair to the running of the municipal government. The fees that you have on time, on hand to make things happen.
we had a recent change in our fees where we now expect the applicant to pay for the advertising directly. And we used to pay for the advertising, and that just got to be not so good. So we changed that, and then we reduced our fee to correspond with that. And basically, Beth looked at what it costs to process an application, And as long as our fee is reasonable with respect to the amount of effort and involved, then we're fine, you know, I mean, so,
It's not that the town is trying to make money off of things, Bill. It's that the town has to exist. And
oh,
we're
no,
close to the point where
yeah,
it can't.
I know, but breaking out the
Yeah.
advertising is just an example of what you can do about fees that reduce the burden on the town. So,
So what you said earlier is going through my mind, looking at the two options. If we did the cheaper option, how much effort's gonna be required on the town's part, at what cost to get to the point of what the more expensive option would cost?
Yeah, I think that this is probably reasonable. It's like twice what the first package is, the second package, and it's not huge money. And then the questions will be, if we are the committee that is going to look at this stuff, the questions that need to be answered are right there for us. Whereas if we go with the first package at the lesser price, we're the ones that have to come up with the questions,
Right.
is what it comes down
And
to.
how long will that take and
Yeah,
at what kind of effort? Yeah,
right. So I would go for the comprehensive package.
I agree.
okay,
So,
Makes sense to me.
well,
Does someone make a motion?
I will move that we go forward with putting forward a warrant article to hire Zachary Dumont from General Code to provide the town the comprehensive recodification service.
I second that.
all right, is there a second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, polling the members.
Michael Brown, yes.
Craig Smith, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes.
Beth Baxon, yes.
And Bill Cadigan, yes. All right, motion carries. So that'll be our plan then. Good.
Who does the warrant article?
Well, we could write it. We could have the Board of Selectmen write it. We could ask Adam to write it. So that the wording is correct.
It will always be, no matter who writes it, Adam always does
He always
a check of it.
reviews.
He always reviews it.
Yeah, so,
How do you think it's strongest? I think it's strongest coming from you guys, but if you want it from the selectmen, it can be from the selectmen.
I think we should maybe meet with the selectmen at some point in the next, and, not, do you have a meeting tomorrow? No, next week, see if we can get on the agenda to meet with them to discuss this and, explain why and why we would need reappointed if this were to pass.
Sounds
And just to
good.
give them an update on what we're doing, because
Yeah.
I don't know, do you guys know what we're doing? I mean, other than that you're here, has the bylaw committee been an agenda item or a point of
I just
discussion?
see updates that I've been given that, what have you been discussing, but that's fine.
Yeah, so maybe Bill get us on the agenda for a meeting
Okay,
and we'll see how they want to deal with the warrant article.
all right. So let's see, item 2. If I get this right, 2.2 is the inclusionary zoning bylaw changes. So that's Connie's.
Yeah, I have a couple things on that. I think, now where was I? This is noise control. Hang on a minute. I think that maybe we want to go and talk to the planning board about this. Where's Dunstable's? Hold on a minute. This is from the Dunstable one, 29.1. The purpose of this section is to promote the public health, safety, and welfare by encouraging the creation of housing that more people can afford, especially people who live and work in the town of, this is Dunstable, in order to meet the town's goal of providing diversity and to mitigate the impacts of market rate residential development on housing costs. So I think that, I mean, this would be a zoning bylaw change. And I do think the planning board needs to weigh in on this. This isn't something that is, I mean, it's in our bylaws, totally voluntary at this point. And this would be maybe a bigger rewrite. So maybe, I think it's something that we as the town need to decide. Do we want this or do we not want this? Do we want to work as a town towards providing affordable housing or do we not? If we held this off, if this recodification were to go forward, maybe this is a point of discussion for the planning board between now and then something that the general code people look at to see how to incorporate that into our bylaw in a way that fits.
Yeah, sounds
Neither Dunstable nor Stowe, which are the two towns that I pulled out because of, discussions from the Affordable Housing Trust. They're two towns that have this. They don't have E-code. Their bylaws are not, I couldn't go into E-code and pull their stuff up. They aren't one, neither of those towns are towns that one of the 144 that they support. And in doing a search, how we can go in and search with I couldn't find anything that was in this surrounding area that had that in there. So this might take a little bit longer, and so it might be more appropriate for, the next round of this committee than to decide now. And I do think it's something that needs to be discussed with the planning board. And if we get CPA, if CPA were to pass in town next fall, then there may not be a need to do this. I guess it's a way to provide the town with funds to support affordable housing, the creation of affordable housing in town. So
Right.
that's my interest in it. And if you read the master plan or the housing production plan, it appears that the town supports all this and supports CPA. It's what's written in the documents, but it's not necessarily what the 75 people who come to town meeting are interested in. So I would want the planning board on board for this, one way or the other.
So I read through this, and this is an issue relatively little about. So just to make sure I understand, so what we have a bylaw now that basically says if you want to have affordable housing, it gives you certain flexibilities with the zoning board. You can get waivers of
You get
zoning
density
rules
bonuses.
if you want to.
Yeah.
So that's what you mean when you say it's voluntary. And then like the Dunstable situation, I may not be remembering it now. I read it a couple of days ago, but basically new developments shall have affordable, and it's like a 1 in 6 ratio.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Okay. So
And if they don't want to do that, that's fine. Then they pay into the difference between
Right.
what it would be sold at market rate and what it would be sold at an affordable rate. They pay into the town the difference for that number of units at the ratio, that is specified.
And you can see examples of it around the town where units have been put in reasonable price unit, and then they put one affordable price unit in on a much smaller lot that normally wouldn't meet the lot size, but that house had to be sold at a much different price than the rest of the house because the lot size was smaller, but the house was very similar, but it was kind of affordable housing. So we have a couple of those throughout town.
We have a Coppersmith Way is pretty much
That's the
it.
one I was thinking.
And that was a 40B.
Mhm.
And so they could, because it was a 40B development, because we, the town, do not meet our percentage of affordable housing.
Mhm.
Because of that, a developer can come in and use 40B and develop at a greater density than what would otherwise be allowable.
The other one I'm thinking is over the line. That was the first one I was gonna say.
And there has never been that bylaw, the one that I say is voluntary, has never been used on any development in town that I know of. Yeah, so if you want to do, I guess as a town, we just have to figure out what is our strategy to develop affordable housing. And how do we get the funding that allows us to do that and to keep affordable houses affordable? Because right now there's an affordable unit at Coppersmith Way, and if it doesn't get sold within the next, 60 to 90 days as an affordable unit, then it goes market rate and we lose it as an affordable unit in town. And we've lost, I think, 2 already at Coppersmith Way were affordable.
That's not our fault. That's the way the program is designed, and you can't argue with these people.
Well, what you can do is, as a town, because the town has the right of first refusal, we, the town, have the ability to buy that unit and then sell it at a later time, not staying within those time frames that are required by law. If we had the funding, we could purchase that unit and then sell it and recoup the funds that we used to purchase during the sale.
Well, that sounds good.
But you need a way to get that started. And we don't have CPA. Other towns use community preservation funds to do those sorts of things. We don't have inclusionary zoning. We don't have any way to get those funds unless we go to town meeting and say, hey, how about 300,000 going into here? And we never have that money because, the roads need paved first, which they do. I'm not saying they don't, but it all becomes a how do you do it and what's available to a town to do these sorts of things. That either that or we just say we don't want it. And then there's all sorts of problems with that as well. So
no, it's a
anyway, so I think we should set this aside, do more work on it. Let the E-code people look at it and figure out how to incorporate it in. And the planning board needs to be on board with this as well, I think. So.
Well, we have that age-restricted bylaw, and there's finally a project being built over on Route 13 under that bylaw, so that's going to be interesting to see how that works out.
It's a little bit different from the workforce housing.
Well, just not in terms of like
it's 55 and over.
but it's like 2-bedroom houses. It's smaller houses, which are, at least from a material cost, should be cheaper than bigger houses. So I don't know.
Are any of those units affordable, or are they market rate 55 and over?
I believe rate, and they sound expensive to me, but I don't really have firsthand information on that. I'm just interested in that whole idea. But I mean, you're basically going against the market, and that's the real problem.
You're not going against the market, you're going against for profit.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
it's not against the market. There is a market.
Well, no, I agree there's a market, but in terms of the participants in the current market, they're all in it for the profit. They're not do-gooders.
Exactly why we need an inclusionary zoning bylaw, one that's not voluntary.
Well, I don't know that anybody's filed even a subdivision since what was that North End Road? What is it
Camel
called?
Farm,
Yeah,
open space preservation.
yeah, that was an OSPD. But I mean, the problem is the price of filing a subdivision has gotten astronomical. So you know, there's a lot of demand, but I don't understand why people aren't actively filling it. All right. So that was item 2. What did I do with this here? Changes to the COA bylaw. What was that? Was that the one with the 4 people that needs to be reduced to 3?
No.
4-year
So-
terms that are really being done as 3 years.
Yeah, all right. So we need a warrant article for that. That's all. Do we need to vote on it? I mean, it's almost at the level of a clerical correction, which,
But I do think we need it. Don't we need a vote?
okay. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we change that bylaw from a 4-year term of service on the COA board to a 3-year term of service.
I'll second that.
Okay, polling numbers. Want to start again, Michael?
Michael Brown, yes.
Greg Smith, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes.
Beth Baxon, yes.
Bill Cadigan, yes. Okay, the motion carries. So we need a warrant article for that puppy as well then.
That one will be pretty easy because it's just no, I can almost write that one. You can probably write that one, Greg. It's just changing a 4 to a 3 or whatever. So,
Okay,
And I think the Board of Selectmen can hold a public hearing for that. We just keep,
yes,
because that's a general bylaw.
yes.
okay.
Do you want me to work on that?
Yeah, I've never seen a warrant.
I'll for the next meeting, I'll put together a one. It's really easy because it's just
So,
changing a number.
Okay.
That's all. All
so
right.
Beth, you're saying that to change a general bylaw, you need a public hearing as well?
You don't, but at the last meeting, I recall you wanted to do that for the public prior to town meeting for general.
Oh, yeah, we were going to have a
transparency,
meeting
if
with
you
the
will.
Board of Selectmen about it, but
It was something that you had mentioned, so I did ask Sabrina, and again, any zoning bylaw would be, the typical planning board public hearing, but if it's a general bylaw and you would want to have a public hearing, I think it would be a good idea.
If we put it on the selectmen's agenda, would that qualify? Because
Yes,
it would be posted as an agenda, that we would put it on the agenda as change to public, general bylaw, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and let me double check. I can definitely look into a legal notice, what the requirements, or if any, would be. Because then we'll just draw up a legal notice of all the different bylaw changes that the committee comes up with, and you can do it all at one select board meeting. And I'll post a notice for each and every change.
Well, every warrant item before the town meeting, we do review publicly.
That's a good point. That's a great point, Teresa, because it could be done at that general warrant public hearing, right?
Right.
Is what you're saying? Yep. Okay. Yep. We'll verify that with town council, and sure, that's easy.
that's
Especially-
all right. Yeah, because we'll have more than one item to discuss or to have a hearing about, so that should work.
Mhm.
Um, okay, next item is 2.4, discuss outdoor lighting bylaw.
All right, I have a little bit of an update. I can kind of do my routine and share my screen maybe and show the latest update of it that I worked on since our last meeting. So let's see, do I have authorization to share now? Or?
You should be able to share now, Michael.
Okay, let me do that. Oh, share. Okay, I have to hit the share button and hopefully there it is. Okay, so we discussed at the last meeting that the consensus seemed to be to propose this as a update to the general bylaw, which currently covers public lighting. So I kind of rewrote it. It's basically what we've already discussed. There's no major changes, but I wrote it as an update to the general bylaw instead of the zoning bylaw. So but it ends up being the same language in the end. So basically most of the verbiage in here really comes from the current zoning bylaw. And then, as I've discussed previously, there are additional definitions and so on that are relevant that weren't in the original bylaws. So I think, let's see what I wanted to point out. So this is all the same stuff from last time. So it's one bylaw instead of having two the way we have it now. There's a few new provisions. The numbering and the letters and the numbers, I tried to follow how it's done in general bylaws. So
Can you stop right there, Mark?
yeah.
So this is my concern, and I can understand why we wanted to change it to a general bylaw, but can a general bylaw, and you guys know this better than I do, be enforced by the zoning enforcing officer, as you have listed here?
I thought that was, it may still say that, I may have missed something, but I think we had discussed possibly having it enforced by the town administrator or his designee. And I intended to change it anywhere where it said zoning enforcement officer.
It says it right in
Which section?
section 2.
2.
And is that the right enforcement officer, the town administrator?
Where are you
I
at?
think
Oh, I
it's-
see, yeah. My intent was to change that.
But I'm not sure,
So, yeah, well, I mean,
who is the enforcer of general bylaws?
well,
It varies.
it often
Okay.
doesn't say. I
Okay,
mean, that was
okay.
part of the
No,
problem.
Roddy answered me, so, okay.
It varies. It's, what is it, chapter 1, article 2, or something where it lists all the different things that get in the E-code. If you go to the E-code, you'll see
So
it.
that may be a question, and I'm not sure how we handle it. This, as written, this has some stuff on who enforces it. I meant to change that, but that, whether it's the zoning enforcement officer or it's the town administrator or his designee, this bylaw has language about enforcement. So I don't know, is that not how we do it? Is it more?
Well, I'm sure under a general bylaw, it shouldn't be the zoning officer, in my opinion, it shouldn't be, so.
So what
Yeah,
would be?
we're going to be having a conversation with town council about enforcement in general. So
Okay,
we'll
so
try to
this,
come up
yeah.
with a tighter scheme for the enforcement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Is-
for now, I'll just change it, but I guess
to
it's subject.
proper enforcing agent, whatever.
Michael,
Yeah.
has this gone to Adam, to town council?
Yes, this
Okay.
version, I actually sent him this red line and a clean version.
Okay, so the question for him might be, should this be a general bylaw or should it be a zoning bylaw? I think
Right.
it should be a general, so it applies to all types of lighting.
Well, I don't know, I
not
mean,
just-
why couldn't a zoning, but, I mean, I think one of the reasons we like general is, well, I think there were two reasons that I know of. One is that it doesn't require a supermajority vote.
Right,
And the other is that, an issue was brought up when I requested enforcement of this bylaw, by the building commissioner who didn't want to enforce it. And one of the schemes he came up with was, oh, well, zoning bylaws can only be enforced in a 10-year period if the violation has existed more than 10 years. That wasn't actually the case anyway for almost all the specific situations, but that sort of I didn't think, in my non-legal opinion, that actually was correct when I read the law that he referred to. But anyway,
I support general bylaw.
that issue
But-
would apply if it were an impediment to enforcement. It only applies to zoning bylaws, not general bylaws.
Okay.
So that's two reasons why general is maybe better. But I don't know that you couldn't have it be zoning, even if it
Yeah,
applies to public and private
We're trying
property.
to make sure that you don't have that happen again either with the zoning enforcement officer, so, but anyways, yeah, well, you can work, but that can be separate, it's just,
Yeah.
I just wanted to notice.
Yeah, that wasn't intentional. I think there may be another place I noticed where it still said building inspector or something like that.
You could just take out zoning and put enforcement officer
Yeah.
Hmm.
for,
That would be good, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll have
Yeah,
to maybe
yeah.
clarify who
and
it is.
then because of the way our E-code is written, you want to have it in the article, the chapter in the article that defines the enforcement for all of the
Right.
bylaws, so.
Right. Somewhere there was a thing, one of the exceptions, you could get a permit for temporary lighting. Oh, yeah, this E here at the top of the bottom, the page on the bottom. So that's another place where it's inconsistent, I guess. Temporary lighting permit by the building inspector. The other thing was, I know we discussed a week ago, one of the new provisions that I proposed, which came from a model bylaw for sports lighting, references a certain set of guidelines, Dark Sky International's out. And we were talking about, should we reference a particular version of that? Like the latest version right now is August 2023, or just leave it general? I don't know.
I think you want to say the most recent or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, 10 years from now, I don't know if they'll still be issuing updates or whatever, but I guess there'll always be a most recent version.
You mentioned the sports lighting. I did have a question. When I read that, it says you can have the lights on till an hour after the sporting event or 10 o'clock. But so does that mean when they gets to 10 o'clock, they shut them off no matter what? Or
Yeah,
if the sporting event ends at 7, they can leave them on till 10?
I guess the more precise way of saying it would be whichever is, and you could say earlier or later. I mean, I guess you don't want to be saying that if for some reason a game did go to 10 p.m., you can't suddenly turn off the lights with the stadium full of people. So I guess we mean to say the later of those two. Although interestingly, the model bylaw that I sort of got the idea from actually says the earlier, but I don't know if you can really logically do that.
The way I'm reading that, and I want to make sure I'm reading it right, is that the latest they would go on, unless the game was still going on, is 10 o'clock. So people wanting to walk the track can assume, whether there's no game or whatever, that there will be lights on the track till 10 p.m.
Oh, right. If there's no game, it would be 10 p.m. If there is a game and it lasts.
If there's a game that ends at 7, they would still be lights at 10, even though it's 2 hours later, because they can still walk the track afterwards. But
Right.
if there's a game that ends at 10, the lights would be off at 11.
Right. That was, I
how
think, how
I-
I thought, but maybe it needs to be a little
No,
more precise.
that's
No.
how it reads.
Well, it just says, end of play or 10 p.m. So if those are different, which one? I think that's what you were asking.
Yeah.
But I guess you could say, well, we need one or the other. So it says or, so I guess it could be the later of them. All right. So, is anybody I have an appointment to talk to Adam tomorrow. Is anybody else gonna talk about something else, or?
Yeah, I was gonna go too, but I don't have a time at this point, but whatever.
I was told.
Check with Sabrina in the morning.
Yeah, just call Sabrina in the morning, but he's starting here at 5, so just call in the morning to set up a time. And he'll stay as long as he needs to.
Where is it here usually?
It's usually in here, but sometimes it's in.
Yeah,
the-
it will probably be in there because we have a 4 and a 6 in here.
So he'll be in the
Capital
great hall.
planning and, actually, we might be done because finance got canceled, so we'll probably be in here.
Huh?
Okay,
Yeah, I didn't have anything else on outdoor lighting. I can actually stop sharing.
Okay, the next one was the corrections to the accessory apartment bylaw. And Beth has thrown a wrench in this.
Yep.
She came up with a town of Pepperell
The draft.
draft accessory apartment bylaw. So I think what we'll do is distribute that and talk about it some more. Whether you want to get involved in that, actually expanding it. We were just correcting a few things, and this would be an expansion of it, and probably the planning board should be involved in this one as well.
What I think, Bill, is that we should make the corrections on this town meeting that you suggested, as long as they're okay with the planning board. And then if it's going to be an expansion, I think that's something that the planning board should look at, and maybe it should be part of the E-code review, similar to the inclusionary zoning. In
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
words, I wouldn't be looking to change the bylaw without it being also reviewed by the planning board. So I think that if we're going to go with a whole recodification, that's the time to do that.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Mhm. So I looked at your edits, and the only thing I noticed was, we just need to change the DHCD to the EOLC or whatever that's called. Yep. So
Yeah, the
beyond,
new,
Good catch.
the new name of the organization.
and then I don't know if, I don't see an expiration date in here anywhere, and I just want everyone else to take a look and make sure that they don't, if I haven't missed it. As far as I read, this special permit does not have an expiration date or a renewal date or doesn't
Right.
compel the applicant to renew. So I
Yeah,
just want everyone to double check and make sure I'm not reading that wrong, but I know that the board has read it and
Yeah, no, I don't see the expiration date either, Beth.
okay, I see one reference to, in F, it says, any owner or owners of a single-family dwelling or a single-family dwelling with a pre-existing outbuilding in RA and RB districts seeking a new or a renewal of an accessory apartment permit. The fact that renewal is in there is, I guess, just dealing with old permits, right? It
Well-
should stay.
No, yeah, I guess
It should stay.
We
Because
could-
they will need to be renewed upon change of or transfer of ownership of the property.
yeah, that we've got in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Well, we didn't,
Oh.
that's not actually added in. Maybe that's something that can be added.
What about adding an I to, looking at this numbering scheme here, the requirements for an accessory apartment.
Mhm.
It goes on the second page, H, put an I in there, saying permits to be renewed at the same, at whatever the rate is for the prior, every 5 years or whatever it was.
Because right now,
Well,
they do have.
I don't have the thing I wrote in front of me here, but I put in a little piece about that somewhere.
I don't see it in your
I don't
changes.
see it, yeah.
No, I see,
Really?
yeah, you noted,
Hang on, let me see. I think I did it on this machine, so.
Or maybe it should be under procedures
um,
features.
or a whole separate 3 section under,
Wow.
1 is procedures, 2 is requirements, and then just do a 3, permit to be renewed every 5 years.
Oh, I put it under here under what is it? Procedures. It's under A. You see A, floor area, a little underneath procedures. And then there's a big paragraph, and I added an extra sentence. In the case of an expired permit under the previous versions of this bylaw, the applicant will not be expected to reduce the square footage of an existing accessory apartment. So I could expand that to say that, what?
I wouldn't expand it there. I'd put it, I would make a 3. So you have 1 is procedures, 2 is requirements for an accessory apartment. And then I would make a 3, renewal, permit to be renewed every 5 years or whatever the process is.
Isn't there a separate requirement having to do with the apartment, accessory apartment is used by a blood relative? Don't you have to have that renewed, like almost annually currently?
I don't think it's annual.
No, not under the new bylaw.
No, I think it's 5 years.
We got away from the 5-year renewal because we really didn't have any issues with, any of the accessory apartments that we had approved earlier. And we used to do that with special permits just so we could avoid a nuisance, and nobody's really created a nuisance with an accessory apartment. So,
Okay, thank you.
so we got rid of that. Now, the problem is that there's no such thing as a renewal of a special permit. There's only a special permit, so that confuses a lot of people.
Gotcha.
So where is the renewal process then that we're talking about?
Well, under the old bylaw, there was a the permit would expire, so you'd have to apply for your permit again, basically.
Correct.
So on
Existing
this one, you don't.
On this one, you don't. No, unless you sell on transfer of the property, the new owner has to apply for the permit.
Right, okay. So then there's no need for this then?
Right.
I thought you were saying you needed a renewal.
No,
Nope. I just want to make sure that,
we're trying to, no, one of the selectmen has been saying that we didn't get rid of it, apparently. And he's
to make
not
sure
an
that-
attorney, so I'm going to check with Adam about this tomorrow, but I just wanted to put this thing in here of a permit issued under previous versions of this bylaw, since the new maximum is 800 square feet, and we do have some larger accessory apartments than that in the system. So I just wanted to make sure it's explicit that people are not going to have to reduce the amount of square foot in their apartment, to get the same special permit back again
Gotcha.
under the new bylaw. Does that
To
make sense?
avoid
Yes,
confusion, we might want to get rid of the word renewable. Just say, on that final paragraph F, just saying seeking a new accessory apartment permit, because if they sold it, it really would be a new, not a renewal.
That's right.
Oh, interesting. Yes, you're right, because it would
Where
be
does
in
it-
their name. Right. Okay.
Where-
So
where
yeah,
does
So
it-
just cross out the word renewal there.
so just say seeking an accessory apartment permit.
Correct.
So a new or a renewal doesn't matter,
Right.
just seeking an accessory apartment permit.
which section are you talking about now?
Capital F.
Capital F, second line in.
It begins any owner or owners of
I
a
see
single
it.
family.
Oh, so just cross out renewal?
Cross out a new or a renewal
Yeah.
of. It can just be seeking an accessory apartment permit.
That'll help avoid some confusion.
Okay. Seeking an accessory apartment permit. Great. Got it. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. So looking, then the noise ordinance bylaw. So I'm trying to remember, was I supposed to do something with that?
Are you running this by Adam tomorrow?
Well,
I guess the question was enforcement and penalties. That
that-
needs to be put in that section and lifted from here.
Okay.
Maybe there need to be words here somehow, but for the most part, it's Adam that needs to look at the enforcement for this, I think.
Yeah.
And decide whether it stays here, which I think this needs to fit our normal, it has to be made to fit the town's E-code.
And I'd also send it to him today so he could look at it ahead of time and maybe discuss it with him tomorrow.
I'm not sure I have Adam's address here, but
I can send it in if you want. Just email it to me, or I have it actually. I can send it over.
okay, great.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next meeting date, we've already done that, right? Next week?
Yes, but before we do that, so right now, what we're looking at is a noise ordinance bylaw, updates to the accessory apartment bylaw, updates to the outdoor lighting bylaw, and updates to the council on aging bylaw. Is that correct? And
Yes.
then looking at enforcement overall to make sure, and this is a question for Adam, to make sure that there's a catch-all for anything that doesn't have a specified, spelled out enforcement routine. I think we need a catch-all
Right.
in the enforcement that says, any bylaw not covered by the above is, enforced by the town administrator or his designee or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So those are the things that are going to Adam, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
So are we gonna, do you envision you and I meeting with Adam and talking about all this stuff, or do we have separate meetings about different topics?
All of them.
We'll just sit together and.
I was
go along.
thinking separate, but whatever. I don't mind.
I don't know.
I think you need to let Adam know what are the things that we're looking at. These are the things that we're looking at. And then whatever fits his schedule, because I think we only have tomorrow's meeting and the end of February meeting, because isn't it March 8th or something is the date that we picked?
To go to the selectmen.
Yeah, there was a, March 8th isn't right, but it was a March date, I thought.
Yeah, it was.
I don't have it in here.
It was the first meeting in March, wasn't it?
The first meeting in March, yeah. So that would be like the 5th. So Adam will come at the end of February again. So maybe talk to him about what we need him to do for us, what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And because I won't have the COA bylaw for him for tomorrow.
Right.
But I can send that to him, or you can send that to him once I have that written. And then if he could get that all reviewed for us.
Okay.
So that he knows, so that he can kind of plan that we're going to need this stuff. And we need someone to write the warrant article for the general code guy.
Right. Yeah, I've got that on my list.
Okay.
We need to take care of some minutes. Sabrina's been on me on the 12/11 meeting, I think.
Yeah, there's something about we approved it, but there was something wrong with it.
I think, yeah, it sounded like a clerical error that I said, you can just correct that, but she wants us to look at it and I thought we had approved, no, the 1/8. Is that the last meeting?
When was our last meeting?
I could have sworn we approved some minutes last meeting.
We did. And I can't have that with me. January 8th. Okay, so she hasn't written the January 8th meeting yet. That was our last meeting, correct?
I thought it was just a week ago, and what is it today? It's the
29th. Yeah, we had a meeting on the 22nd.
22nd, right? So yeah, we haven't got the minutes of the 22nd, but we should have gotten. I thought we approved the minutes of the 8th on the 22nd.
Actually, it looks like we got the minutes for the 8th as part of the stuff to review today. So maybe they weren't approved.
According to her, there was a clerical error in the 1/8/24 minutes under 1.4 approved.
I don't have that we approved the 1/8 minutes.
It said on 1/8 minutes, on the 1/8 minutes, you said that you approved 12/11/24 minutes. But basically, you should have said you approved the 12/11/23 minutes.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay, so basically, she corrected it, so it says that you approved the 12/11/23 meetings, but I think she is asking
I don't get it.
that you re-vote to say that you approved, there was a clerical error in the last meeting, and that you approved the 12/11, you said you approved the 12/11/24 meeting, but you really approved the 12/11/23 meeting. So if you just announce that during this meeting, you should be all set.
All right.
Okay. So the motion said 12/11/2024. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. The motion to approve
Because
says
the
12/11/2024.
agenda says 12/11/2023. All right, so I move that we change our motion to from the last meeting to approve the 12/11/2023 minutes as opposed to the 12/11/2024 minutes. Does that take care of it?
There a
Yep.
second? Sounds good to me, Ron.
Second,
Okay,
Can I have a
polling the members.
Can I have a discussion on that?
Oh, yeah.
Not to throw another monkey wrench, but I noticed that I was listed as absent, but then I joined the meeting. I was late, but I wasn't absent. So if she could just make that correction in the first paragraph that Elizabeth Faxon was absent, but I actually joined the meeting
Okay.
at 4:21.
I remember that.
I would recommend we take a
I
vote on
remember you
that
showing
and
up
put
late.
that as a second, make that as a second change to the meeting.
Well, we have a motion on the floor.
So I finished, they've already started voting, no? Or make a change to the
I'm
motion.
not sure.
Change your motion, please, Ronnie.
All right, I move that we change our motion of approval for the 12/11/2023 meeting minutes to 12/11/2024, and that in those,
You're still a year off, Ronnie.
we are approving the minutes for 12/11/2023, not 12/11/2024, and that it be noted that Beth Faxon joined the meeting late.
Great. Is there a second?
second,
Go ahead.
Polling the members. Michael, will you start again?
Michael Brown, yes.
Greg Smith, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes?
Beth Faxon, yes.
Bill Cadigan, yes. Motion carries. Thank you. So we haven't got any other minutes, right?
Did we vote on the 1/8/2024 minutes? It was on the agenda for last time, but I usually.
That's what we just voted on, right? They won 8/2024.
No, it was the 12/11.
No, 12/11,
Last year.
2023, with the change to a clerical error in those minutes. Or no, I guess it was the 1/08/2024.
Right, it
Just
was
to
a
change the
reference
minutes
to-
in that
yeah.
referred to, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So we should be good.
There'll be minutes from a week ago, I guess. Who does the minutes?
Sabrina does the
Sabrina
minutes,
does
and I
it.
think she said she didn't have them ready yet.
I
for-
think she would attach it to the email for today's meeting if she had them, so.
Yeah, she had sent an email earlier saying that she wouldn't have those.
So you should be good, unless you want to put it all together and say, approve the minutes as changed. So 1/8.
No, let's just leave it until we actually see a copy of those minutes.
Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Polling of members, Michael,
Michael Brown, yes.
Greg Smith, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes?
Beth Faxon, yes.
Bill Cadigan, yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow and also next week.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Happy.
Thanks.